2025. We as a commission operate under the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 26 of the Town of Danvers General Bylaws, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. After each applicant presents his or her request and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it is required by law that you give your name and your address before you speak. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, all persons present during this meeting are expected to be civil to all other meeting attendees. This includes the members of the commission, staff, abutters, concerned citizens, property owners, and project applicants. We also request that you confine your questions to the project and only as it pertains to the Wetlands Act. We cannot handle, nor do we have jurisdiction regarding such things as noise or traffic. All problems not related to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Danvers Wetlands Protection Bylaw must be taken up with other boards. First order of business tonight would be the roll call. Peter Wilson is present. Lorraine Drapek. Mary Height.
Present.
And Michael Splain.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 members present, which is a sufficient quorum, so we will proceed. First up is a request for a certificate of compliance for 10 Riverside Street, DEP file number 14-1424. And the applicant is Christopher Farrell.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Christopher Farrell from 10 Riverside Street, Danvers, Massachusetts, and I'm here tonight to request a certificate of compliance for an in-kind replacement of a retaining wall on my property, as displayed here on the screen.
This application was in 2024,
Correct. The process was started in 2024, yes.
and it's been completed?
Yes, the wall has been completed. The only thing that's left over is the quarry logs that I had put in place during the construction. That's the last thing to come off the property. Machinery is removed. The property is level and in stable condition. There's no more machinery. And as part of the special conditions in the order of conditions, the railroad ties that comprise the previous wall have been taken off the property. They're not stored on the property. They're disposed of as well. So those are off the property as well.
Okay, what did you say was still left to be removed?
No, so the only thing that needs to be pulled out still is the quarry log, the sock that goes around. I just left that in place until I knew I had a certificate of compliance. I didn't want to pull that out early. But other than that, the special conditions have been met and the site is stable as well.
Okay, good. And you've been out to view the site, Emily?
Yep. Been to the site, no concerns.
Okay, good. All right, Mike, any questions?
No.
Mary?
I'm good.
Okay, someone can make a motion, we'll grant a certificate of compliance.
I make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 10 Riverside Street, DEP number 14-1424.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for doing everything in a timely manner.
Try to move fast and correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is a notice of intent for 62 Chase Street, DEP file number 14-1442, and the applicant is Jean Hartnett.
Good evening. My name is Jean Hartnett. I am here tonight with my husband, Jonathan Hartnett. We are the owners and residents at 62 Chase Street, Danvers. I am also the civil engineer for the project, and my driller is supposed to be joining virtually in case anybody has any questions for him that I can't answer, but hopefully he will join at some point during the presentation. So I want to start by thanking Emily and members of the town planning staff. Emily, you've just been incredibly helpful back and forth for the past few months putting this presentation together. Also the engineering department, Stephen King and Frank at the Board of Health have all been great. And I want to thank the members of the Conservation Commission. As a former member, I appreciate the work that goes into reviewing these applications and the time, so thank you very much. Our project is for geothermal boreholes and associated trench for residential closed-loop ground source heat pump. And a lot of people that I've talked to aren't really sure. They haven't heard of ground source heat pump, or if they have, they don't really know what it is. So hopefully I do a good job of explaining that. Next slide, please. Tonight I'm going to talk about the site and existing conditions and some of the constraints that we ran into, the proposed boreholes and the trench, the waiver request, the purpose and need, construction, and our alternatives analysis. Next slide, please. So here is our existing home. It was built in 1952, well before any of the Wetlands Protection Act, and it is primarily pre-existing maintained lawn. You can see the Porter River. This is the resource area. So we have the 200-foot riverfront area that goes basically all the way through our site. I think it's only 300 square feet of our property that's not within the riverfront area. We also have tidal flats and the bordering vegetative wetlands, and then we are also in flood zone AE for part of the property and part of the project. So in yellow, you can see this is approximately where the 3 preferred borehole locations are going to be, and then I'm proposing 2 as backup just in case we can't get the full depth. And then this red outline will be the trench that connects the boreholes to our house. I wanted to show it on an aerial just so that you could have a better sense of what the site looks like. We do also have a survey, so next slide, please. So we had a wetland scientist out from Williams and Saltmarshes, and she delineated the wetlands with wetland flags A1 through A10. You can see right here. And then we're also in the 200-foot riverfront area of the Porter River, so that is delineated by the mean high water line, which is elevation 4.1, and so 200 feet from that. And then also we are in the flood zone AE, and that is determined by elevation 10 from the FEMA flood insurance rate maps. Next slide, please. Here is our survey with the existing conditions. So you can see the riverfront area is highlighted in blue. The 100-foot buffer zone is highlighted in yellow. The 50-foot no-build zone is highlighted in orange. 35-foot no disturb zone is in red, and the wetland flags are in green. You can also see this heavy black line right here is where the flood zone ends. This area is all flood zone. Next slide, please. So some of the constraints, we would have preferred to have the boreholes be on this west side of our property, but unfortunately there are 2 sewer lines that run along the edge of our property line, and I was talking to the town engineer and the Board of Health, and we can't do any drilling within 50 feet of those sewer lines, so that this is the 50-foot offset, which basically brings us here. Here is the house. So the whole left side of our house we can't drill, and then this is where the no build zone comes up, so then we had to locate the boreholes on this side of our site. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the boreholes. We are only disturbing 417 square feet of area, which I think is pretty good. It's only 4% of the total riverfront area on the site. All of the boreholes are outside of the 50-foot no-build zone, and they are outside of the 50-foot municipal sewer line offset. And some areas of concern why we're here is the work is between 100 and 200 feet in the riverfront area. It is completely within the 50-foot to 100-foot wetland buffer. our alternative boreholes 4 and 5, in case we can't get the full depth on the first 3, and 54 feet of the trench are located within the flood zone. And we are requesting a waiver for 10 linear feet of the trench, which will be within the 50-foot no-build zone, just because we have stairs coming down from our deck, and there's less than 3 feet between the stairs to our deck and the 50-foot no-build zone. So we really are trying to squeeze through that little area, and we have to go a couple inches into the no-build zone. Actually, if you go to the next slide, I have a blow-up of that. So here in the magenta is the limit of work. So we have boreholes 1, 2, and 3 are our preferred locations, and then we have 4 and 5 in case we can't reach that full depth, and proposed straw wattle as erosion control. If you go to the next slide, please. And so this shows 1, 2, 3, all outside of the flood zone, outside of the 50-foot no-build zone. And then this is the trench that will connect all of the boreholes to each other, and then go to the rear of our house and go through our foundation into our basement to a utility room. So here are the stairs coming down from our deck, and we have only 2.96 feet between the steps and the no-build zone. So we really are only going a couple of inches into the 50-foot no-build zone. Next slide, please. So again, we're proposing 3 380-foot closed loop boreholes for a total of 1,140 feet. Closed loop means we will not be drawing from or discharging to the groundwater. They are 4.5-inch diameter boreholes all the way to bedrock, and they're spaced 20 feet apart. Boreholes 4 and 5 are to be permitted as reserve locations in case the full depth for 1 through 3, with a total of 1,140 feet, cannot be reached. We are locating the boreholes as far away from the resource area as we possibly can. Straw wattles proposed for erosion control. We're under 500 square feet of disturbance, and no flood storage will be lost due to construction, because all of the piping and the wells are subsurface underground, and then we'll be regrading and replanting to meet existing conditions. So we're not adding any more impervious area. Next slide, please. And this is a little bit about our waiver request. So again, we're going into the 50-foot no-build zone, necessary because of where our stairs are located. Next slide, please. And our purpose and need. So our home is currently heated by an oil furnace. Our home was built in 1952, so our oil furnace is original to the house, and it's extremely inefficient and unreliable. So we will go away for a weekend in the winter and come back and have no heat, no hot water. So towards the end of the winter last year, we knew it was time to start thinking of how we were going to replace this. So we want to replace our oil heat with an efficient, environmentally ground source heat pump, because the geothermal boreholes use the year-round ambient temperature underground of approximately 54 degrees to heat and cool our home, and also can be used for our domestic hot water. Next slide, please. And what is geothermal? It is a liquid. The liquid solution in the pipes will be heated or cooled by the ground temperature. The liquid in the pipes is a non-toxic mix of water and antifreeze. The pipes are sealed and nothing will escape or leak into the ground. The liquid is piped to a heat pump in our basement to heat and cool our house. So I don't know if you can see this, but it's here's like an example of the heat pump, and these are the wells, the boreholes. If it's winter, the liquid will go down and be warmed, because 54 degrees is warmer than the air temperature in the winter. So it will use that 54 degrees as a base, and then electricity will warm it the rest of the way to, say, 70 or whatever you set your house at. And then in the summer, the air is hotter than the ground. So it will take that 90-degree air, or however, whatever the temperature is, we'll pass it underground, and it will cool down to 54 degrees, and then it will go back to the pump in your house and circulate throughout your house to cool it. The liquid will circulate from the ground through the compressor and the heat pump, further heating it in the winter, and then transfer to the rest of the house. In the summer, the heat pump works in reverse, and it extracts heat from the inside air and transfers it to the ground, cooling the house. It can also be used to heat our domestic hot water. The liquid then travels back through the wells underground in a continuous closed loop. So the same liquid is constantly recirculating. It's not taking any water from the ground, and it's not putting anything into the ground. It's a totally closed loop system. Next slide, please.
Okay, just give me 1 second. I just need to stop sharing this one and then pull up the next one here. Just give me 1 second.
Oh, okay. So this is a video taken from the U.S. Department of Energy that explains how geothermal works. Hopefully it can do a little bit better of a job than I did. And just to be aware, it's a horizontal system in this video, so it looks like a lot more site work and excavation than we're doing. They do show a vertical system towards the end of the video.
One sec, I just gotta get some sound on this here. Hang on. All right. 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
Just gotta figure out how to get the sound to play on this. I'm sorry.
Street, just, I thought the house
All right, just give me 1 second. Yeah, I'm just trying to get the sound to play on the video that's up there from my computer. Yeah, I tried that, it didn't work. Do you know a different way?
If it doesn't work, it's okay.
Okay. I can try through the link that you had emailed me this morning.
Okay.
So just give me 1 sec. Let me see if that'll work.
Trying to play the video. Yeah.
Is the sound that essential? Could we get the idea from?
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Let's see if that works. 1 sec. Thank you all for your patience here. Let's see. Unavailable. Okay. Let's see if this works. Give me 1 second here. One sec. Sorry, guys.
I can also just continue.
Okay. This.
Give it just one more try.
Okay.
One more
It is
try.
a neat video.
Let's see if we can do this here. Stop sharing and then try one more thing. Okay, let's see if this works. Are you able to get any sound from it?
And while we're waiting, you should ask whatever questions we would
All
have.
right, I have some questions.
Go ahead then, Mike.
I can finish the rest of my presentation.
Okay, do you want me to go back to your slides?
Yeah, please.
Okay, all right, sorry about that.
It's okay. That was just an extra. Okay, video explaining how geothermal works. Hopefully I explained it in the previous slide. So next, our driller is Rototech, and I still don't see Kim, but that's okay. They are located out of New York. They're Massachusetts registered well driller. The company was founded in Finland and have been operating in Europe since 2007. So I know Europe and especially those Nordic countries are usually far ahead of us as far as renewable energy goes. So they started a company in the United States in 2023, and they've been operating here ever since. I know of projects they've done in New York, New Hampshire, and they've done some in Massachusetts as well. So even though it hasn't been a long time, they do have quite a bit of work here. And so we also had to apply for a well drilling permit from the Danvers Board of Health, and that is in process. So the construction sequencing, step 1 is the erosion control, most importantly. We will be using straw wattles as our primary method of erosion and sediment control. They're placed on the downhill side of excavation and installed perpendicular to the slope. So the way they work is if they're perpendicular to the slope, the water will run down and the straw wattle will act as sort of a filter. So not only will it slow the water down before it goes to the other side of the straw wattle and enters the resource area, but the straw will also trap all of that sediment and deposit it on this side of the straw wattle so that it doesn't get carried out into the resource area. All excavated material will be placed on the uphill side of the trench just so that if it does get washed out, it will get washed into the trench before it gets washed to the straw wattle or the resource area. The wattles, when they are installed, will be placed in a shallow trench 2 to 3 inches deep just so that they have that good contact with the ground and no water can get underneath. There will be 2-foot-long stakes installed at 4-foot intervals along the straw wattle just to secure it in place. Consecutive straw wattles will overlap by a foot so nothing can get through the gaps. They're typically 8 to 10 inches in diameter, and the erosion control will remain in place until the growing surface returns to existing conditions. So we're planning on replanting grass there. So depending on what time of year we finish up, if it's still warm enough, we'll do hydro seed to get the grass growing as rapidly as possible. But otherwise, we'll be placing sod because that can be installed even in the dead of winter. Next slide, please. Our additional stormwater BMPs, we do not use any chemicals on our property. We don't have fertilizers on our lawn. We don't even have irrigation. So all of that helps the water resource area be more healthy. It reduces toxic runoff, protects the groundwater, prevents eutrophication, which is excess nutrients running into the water and causing algae to grow, which degrades the water. We also have rain barrels. So right now we have 3 rain barrels existing on our property on 2 of the corners of our house. And we're actually going to be adding 2 more so that all of the corners are covered by rain barrels. And that prevents the rainwater from becoming surface runoff. Next slide. Also, to handle the water from drilling, we will have a water dumpster, and that arrives prior to drilling. It's 12 feet long, 7 feet wide, and 7 feet high, and it will be placed in our driveway. It can hold up to 5,000 gallons of water. So when they start drilling, they will connect to the hose on like the faucet on the outside of our house and use that water to bind all of the dust and the cuttings from drilling, and then it will get pumped into this system. It captures the stone cuttings, soil, and water, both underground water and potable water, and passes through baffles to separate the particles. So it will actually slow the water down, and having the water slowed down, it will allow the particles in the water to settle down to the bottom, and then the clean water will continue to, and it's a series of chambers, so it will continue to improve the water quality as it goes through the system. And then the clean water is pumped out to the surrounding grass up to 300 feet away by this long hose that you can see there, and to be absorbed by the surrounding soil. The water discharge location is going to be all the way on the left side of our property, farthest away from the river. And we also had to get a stormwater permit from engineering, and I submitted that to Stephen King today, so that permit is also in process. Next slide. And next is the drilling. The drill rig is 20 feet long, 6 feet wide, and 9 feet high. It's actually 21 feet when it's erect and drilling. It's similar size to a pickup truck, and that can be parked on the pavement. It's a lot smaller than a traditional drill rig, which is 40 feet long. We originally were trying to work with a different driller, and that's the only type of machine they had, the 40-foot long one, and it was really restricted in being able to get to our site, so we had to find another driller, and they're able to get to much more remote locations. So the way it works is they park on the pavement, and then they have a 150-foot hose. It's a pneumatic drill, so it uses pressure in the hose to be able to bore down instead of having the whole drill rig be over the hole that they're drilling. It requires access to pressurized water and electricity, as I said, and the drilling, looping, and grouting will take approximately 2 to 3 days, depending on how many boreholes we actually need. Hopefully, we only need 3, and it will be 2 days. The working hours will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and also to note that there will not be any road closures or police details needed for this at any point. Next slide, please. Step 4 is the pipe installation. So after the drilling is complete and the vertical pipes are installed, then the horizontal pipes that connect each borehole to each other and to our house, the trench will be dug for that. The trench is 4 to 5 feet deep so that the pipes are below the frost line, and it's about 3 feet wide. It's dug with a mini excavator, and then the subsurface 1 1/4 inch horizontal pipes connecting the vertical wells, and it will terminate 1 to 2 feet inside of our foundation and connect to the heat pump in our basement. The trench is backfilled with excavated material and then rough graded and planted to match existing conditions. The timeline for that is 2 days. The working hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So in total, the 2 to 3 days the first week, and then the 2 days the following week, it's under 2 weeks of construction, and really only 4 or 5 days. Next slide, please. We did an alternatives analysis. So first was where our priority location for the boreholes would be. So we couldn't locate them on the left side of our property due to the sewer pipes. Logistically, it was not possible. So we had to locate them closer to the resource area. The second alternatives that we looked at were replacing our oil furnace with another oil furnace, replacing it with gas, or replacing it with propane. And all 3 of those I couldn't, in good conscience, move forward with. Being a civil engineer, I'm LEED accredited, that's leadership in energy and environmental design. Just knowing the environmental impact of the fossil fuels, they are known to be the #1 contributor to climate change. They're not renewable or sustainable, so we didn't want to move forward with those options. Then we looked at doing electric heat. So electric heat and then an air source, heat pump and mini splits, but the operational cost of the electric heat is much higher, and it's not as efficient. The air source heat pump is not as efficient as the ground source heat pump because the air temperature fluctuates a lot more than the ground temperature. And also that would use a lot of electricity, which would be a burden on the municipal electric grid. We are, however, using the best available measures. We're using a closed loop system, so we're not drawing from or discharging to the existing groundwater. It's a continuously circulating mix of non-toxic antifreeze and water. We're using vertical wells instead of a horizontal system, so we minimize the amount of excavation. We are also using the track machine to drill the boreholes instead of using the big 40-foot machine. We can keep the machine on pavement, and so that it won't have to disturb as much of the grass. And the benefits of geothermal are it is what people consider green energy, but what does that exactly mean? It means that it's reliable and efficient. It uses the Earth's natural heat and consistent heat to cool and heat our house. It has higher efficiency and a longer lifespan. It is sustainable, which means it does not deplete the Earth's resources, and it's renewable, which means the Earth is always producing this underground heat. It eliminates fossil fuels from our house, reduces CO2 emissions, and has a lower operating cost. Next slide, please. So this graphic is taken from a publication from the Harvard Kennedy School back in June 2024 called Opportunities for Cost-Effective Residential Heat Pump Adoption in Massachusetts. And it shows, this is the comparison of electric heat to ground source heat. So depending on where you are in the state, your annual savings will be anywhere from $0 to $2,900. So we're up in this area. And next slide, please. I went to the table that shows town by town and the town of Danvers. So you can see this is ground source heat pump in comparison with electric heat. And the town of Danvers, on average, users would save $2,859 annually for ground source heat pump versus electric heat. Then it also shows the comparison with oil and natural gas, a little bit less. And then over here shows the coefficient of performance, which is the ratio of the output compared to the energy input required to get the same heating and cooling. And air source is 2.9 and ground source is 4.2. So the coefficient of performance is a lot higher for geothermal. Next slide, please. Last month, we had a home energy audit done by Energy New England, and they sort of came up with around the same numbers that we would save $2,047 annually if we switched to a geothermal heat pump, and also compared our energy use. This is an average home in Massachusetts is around 125. We're a little bit higher than that, but switching over, we would be way down to 32.5. And then our carbon footprint, so we're a little bit lower than the average of 9.7. I think it's tons per year. That's a little too small for me to read, but 9.4 currently, all the way down to 2.2. So that's significant benefit to the environment. Next slide, please. And finally, this is a quote from the US DEP guideline for ground source heat pump wells. It says, discharge wells for open loop ground source heat pump systems and wells used for closed loop ground source heat pump systems are classified as Class 5 injection wells by the US EPA and the Mass DEP Underground Injection Control Program. If installed, operated, and decommissioned properly, such wells have been determined not to pose a significant threat to the environment. Next slide. Thank you. That's my presentation. Questions and comments?
Okay, one quick question that comes to my mind with that filtering mechanism you had for the spoils from the drilling.
Mm-hmm.
Where will these spoils end up?
So they will remain in the dumpster, and then when the driller is finished, they'll take that away.
So they're taken off site. They don't.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's a very thorough presentation. I really don't have a whole lot of questions. Mike, you have any questions?
Just a few. How is the depth chosen? You chose a particular depth. Is that,
Okay, yep. So we worked with an HVAC contractor, and they did, it's called a thermal J of our house, which basically determines the size of our home, you know, the amount of windows that we have, the insulation, and what size heating system we would need. So our total is 1,140 feet of depth for those pipes in the ground. So they just sort of arbitrarily chose 3 at 380 feet.
Make
because,
up the 1,100.
Yeah, because that's what they think that we can get in this area. So that's why I added those 2 extra as backup, just in case we can't get that full depth with the first 3.
So they would be in addition too. So if you only got to 250, then you could add 2 more?
Exactly.
And how much more work would that require if you had to add more?
It would probably be another day of drilling, so that's why
More trenching and,
No, so actually I located those 2 alternative boreholes in the path of the trench
Oh,
that it would take
yeah.
anyway. So, yeah.
all right. So when I first read this and I'm thinking of wells, I thought you were going after well water.
Yeah, I know. I really should stick with the term boreholes because they actually are not wells, but it's sort of interchangeable in commonly talking about it, but they really are just holes for the pipes to go into. Wells.
Stanley, what if you were to hit well water? It wouldn't matter.
So oftentimes we do hit water, and that's what that big green dumpster is for. It will take the groundwater and filter it so that we can discharge it back to the ground surface. And then there is a steel casing that goes into the hole all the way down to bedrock. And the pipes are installed inside of that casing. And then there's a casing cap to prevent radon coming up from the surface, to prevent groundwater contamination, and to prevent any movement of the pipes within the borehole.
And all the connections are done at the
Underground.
below the frost line,
Yes.
but those are just straight holes. They don't circulate amongst themselves?
So on one of the slides it shows it, but they do. So it has one pipe that goes down and then it turns around and goes back up, so that you get that sort of double
A loop? like?
interaction. Yeah, it's a loop, and then it will go to the next one and
All
loop
right.
down and back up.
They're in a series, sort of.
Yes, yes,
All
exactly.
right. And what is the solution or liquid that's being circulated?
It is a mix of water and non-toxic antifreeze, just so that in case, if we get a deep, deep freeze below the frost line, that the liquid doesn't freeze, because that would be catastrophic for the system.
Right. Let's see. The trenches you dig will be to get below the frost line, correct?
Yes.
And that's where you connect the pipes.
Yep.
And then, what was the connection to the utility room? Why was that?
Yeah, so the pipes where the liquid is circulating will have to go through our foundation, and then there's a machine in our basement that takes that liquid and transfers it to our heating system in our house.
Say that one last part again?
So the pipes that have the liquid in it,
Right.
like say a water utility or gas, it goes through our foundation into our basement and connects to a heat pump. It's a machine that will use the temperature of the water solution and
It has a better temperature to work with because
Exactly.
it's always 50-something degrees.
Yes.
Now, the heat pump, of course, will have to run on electricity, but that's,
right, but it will use substantially less electricity than an air source heat pump, which is the range of temperature. It can be 90 degrees outside, it could be 0 degrees outside, and you're always trying to get the opposite of, if it's hot, you're trying to get cold. If it's cold, you're trying to get hot. Whereas the Earth is
how are you
steady.
distributing the heat or the cool?
So we are going with a water-to-water system, which means we're not using ducts in our house. We're using
Baseboard?
it's sort of like a radiator, but it also does cooling. But yeah, it's radiator units.
All right, the drilling, is it noisy?
Yes.
So, I mean, we probably want to, oh, there you are.
Yeah, we do.
I keep looking for you.
I know.
Probably wanted some condition about when the drilling would take place?
The work hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so if the commission is agreeable to that with the applicant, just make sure that no work is outside of those windows,
Yep.
if that's okay with the commission too?
What are
7
the,
a.m. to,
It was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is what had been proposed for the,
is
Yeah.
that
for the work
typically what we
hours.
do?
It-
On a Sunday morning? You wouldn't
No,
be
we
drilling
typically-
on?
No, it's
typically
during
don't
the
work on
week.
Sundays and holidays, yeah.
I hear banging outside of my window at 7 a.m.
and it would only be a couple days, one week, and
if
then
I
a couple
had
days
any
the
This
next
is a
week.
quick installation. right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
2 weeks.
no. So that's all my questions. You did a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
And I learned something too, so it's good.
Just another quick question, if mine not really impacting the wetlands or whatever, but how many of these systems are installed in Danvers now? You know,
I looked at, Massachusetts has a well registration, and it looked like there were 5 systems installed in Danvers. One of them was for North Shore College, and one of them was for Essex Tech, I believe. Only 3 of them were residential
Are those for well water or for your system?
for closed loop geothermal.
Yeah.
So
Well,
hopefully,
good there.
after this, it becomes, more widely known that this is an available option.
So one other, one
go
other
ahead.
question, I almost forgot. When you dig the trenches, how far down will you go? I know you're going below the frost
Yeah,
line, so.
between 4 to 5 feet.
All right, and then the soil you remove, you will,
reuse.
you'll
Yeah, it'd be-
reuse it to
It will fill back in the trench. Yep.
yeah, and how long, between the time you dig the trench and refill, how much,
Couple days.
couple days?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And you're going to store that soil on the uphill side of the trench?
Yes.
No, we don't want it.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, as a former Conservation Commission member, you've done a thorough job.
Thank you.
Mary, any questions?
Yeah. So I just have a couple things. So I love that you did just a small area in the 50-foot buffer zone. That was awesome. And when I read through things, it said they were proposing 3 to 5 closed-loop wells. You're doing 3, right? With the engineering?
We know we need 3
Yeah.
to reach the total depth between the 3 of 1,140 feet.
Yeah.
But sometimes they'll run into, like the driller was saying, down the Cape, they oftentimes run into a lot of sand, and then the
Yeah.
holes just start to collapse on themselves,
Yeah.
which probably isn't the case here, but I figured since I'm here, I might as well ask for the 2 extras just in case.
Yep, that's perfectly fine. And I just had a question about the system itself, where you're close to salt water and the increase in elevation of that. My assumption is that the system is protected
Yeah.
from saltwater intrusion? Yeah?
Yeah, so are you talking about the salt water getting into the groundwater?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we drill, there are steel sort of like hollow straws that will go inside of the holes all the way down to bedrock, and they're grouted in place, which is like a concrete slurry mix, so that they're basically concreted from
Yeah.
bedrock all the way to the surface, and then there's a cover on that casing so that radon, which is a poisonous gas, can't get up from the ground, so that nothing can go in and contaminate the groundwater, and so that the pipes and the casing don't move.
Very cool. Thank you very much, and nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comments or questions? None? What does the board think? Sounds like a good project to me. Yeah? Okay, we have 3 different things that we need to vote on then. The first would be, if I can find it.
The public hearing?
We have to close the public hearing. Yes, if someone can make a motion to that effect.
I make a motion to close the public hearing for 62 Chase Street, DEP number 14-1442.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, why don't you just keep going, Mary?
Yep. I make a motion to grant a waiver to allow work in the 50-foot no-build zone for 62 Chase Street, DEP number 14-1442.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know if we have additional conditions.
I don't think we.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
Hearing all the questions, I don't think there was anything that really
Yeah,
came
no.
up, not to my memory at least. Anything special? come
Just
to
the
your
work would be done within the 7 to 7.
Do you want to do that motion?
And we talked about the storage of the soil.
Do you want to do that one for the motion with the 2 conditions?
Well, she said it's part of the project, so is that in the application? for the soil?
Yeah.
So that's already there, so
Yeah.
we don't need that.
All right.
And the timing, I'm not sure that's within our jurisdiction, but it sounds like, I mean, they're doing it, similar to what other construction projects.
When are
we do.
you starting the project?
As soon as we can, we are hoping to have this up and running before winter, and then also all of the incentives for heat pumps.
Yeah, I was
end.
going to say, there must be incentives and their
They're ending
timelines.
January 1st, so we're trying to get, in before all of the
The
incentives end.
incentives good till January 1st, and what, you have to reapply or something?
No, the administration has ended
No.
all incentives for renewable energy.
Well, let's say, what if you don't get it done by then? Are you still going to do the project?
Yes,
You are.
we just won't get as much money back, or any money back.
It's going to work out.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess there were no additional conditions, so why don't we just make a motion to issue an order of conditions?
I make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 62 Chase Street, DEP number 14-1442.
Thank you so much.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Take lots of pictures, we want to see.
Come back and tell us how it worked out, will you?
Great, thank you.
Okay, on to number 3, a request for certificate of compliance for 35 Doty Ave, DEP file number 14-0883. The applicant is Edward Doherty, and I see that our friend Bob is here too.
Good evening, Bob Griffin on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Doherty. We had a site walk, you may recall, in August, and we looked at the as-built plan and the conditions. There was some things that had been built without previous filings. I think that was of some concern. And there had been some encroachment of BVW with a little bit of lawn near the pier. And so we discussed at the site walk trying to mitigate for that, and a suggestion was made to consider a pollinator garden. We did add a pollinator garden next to the garage. You might recall when you came down the driveway, there was a sort of a stone enclosed area that looked like it had been a garden at one point in its life, but there really was nothing growing in it now. So that looked like a convenient spot. So we added that there, and there's some specifications on the drawing about the type of plants that go into a pollinator garden. We also specified about a 375 square foot upland shrub bed here. The shrub bed would have some shrubs that are suitable for bird habitat. So there was some inkberries, some winterberries, blueberries, and a few other things in that shrub bed that are listed on the lower part of the plan as well. The other thing that came up during the site walk was a discussion about the pier, and I had some subsequent conversations with the harbor master about how to deal with the fact that the size of the float out there is bigger than was originally permitted. And we really were unable to come to any sort of agreement on how to address that. So I think the best course of action on that certificate of compliance is just to withdraw the application at this point in time, and we'll file a after-the-fact notice of intent to basically keep the float at the current size. And so then it'll be properly permitted, and I think that resolves his concerns. So that was the story on the pier, and I hope you find these additions to the as-built plan satisfactory. If you do, Mr. Doherty's prepared to proceed with this work as quickly as possible.
Two things, Bob. With whatever you called it, the notice of intent for the pier.
Right.
I mean, is that akin to coming in with a new application for a new pier? Because, I mean, that pier did not meet our current regulations.
So I think
I'm sorry, not the pier, the float.
the float. We could consider making some improvements to the float as part of that process, yes.
Well, he wants to withdraw, so that's that.
Yeah, that was withdrawn
That's
at the
down the
last
road.
meeting.
That's just a question that I had.
Yep.
And then, another issue that I have with this particular plan is that sports court.
Sport
whatever you
court,
wanna
yeah.
call it. How big of a deal is to remove that? I mean, it's a building within within our limits, just asking to happen. So I'd like to see that removed.
So that area was, previously a sort of a mulched playground area with a play structure when the kids were younger, and then it got converted into the sport court as the kids became older. So there was always something there. I haven't really spoken to Mr. Doherty about removing it completely, but I'm certainly happy to do that. I wonder, can we reduce it in size to something, that's more suitable for a play area for, I mean, at some point, there's gonna be another family, and here's gonna be more kids in here. I'm sorry?
What do they do with it, Bob? What do they use it for?
I think right now the kids are at college age, and so they're not using it for much at all at this point in time.
But Bob, my fear is that it's just an area waiting for someone to put some kind of structure on and junk gets stored there, whatever, down the road.
All right.
I'd much rather see that return to a quote-unquote natural state. If it was a mulch area for kids to play in, or a swing set in a mulch area, that's fine. It's just, that concrete there is just, it's not
Okay.
sitting well with me.
Fair enough. All right, I'll have that
I think
conversation.
it's an invitation for a structure, is that what you say?
Yes. So you haven't seen it, Mike, is it?
No.
It's substantial.
And it was,
Yeah.
how many square feet was that, Bob? Like 300 or 400 at least.
Yeah,
That big?
it looks like it's about the size of a two-car garage, so probably 400 to 500 square feet, I would guess.
This here is 108 compared to that.
We actually, we had some. Okay, so that, if you just convey that to Mr.
Okay.
Doherty and just, I guess if that being said, we probably would want to be continuing.
Yes,
Is that right?
yeah,
Before we-
continue
But
until
before
whatever
we-
mitigation.
we'll
We
go through
entertain
our-
a motion on his request for the withdrawal? Or-
That was, you did that at the last meeting.
We already
Yep,
did that?
Yep, that was already about to be
Yeah,
done.
all right, good.
So why don't we just proceed in our normal course of events here, and just, Mike, if you have any further questions, go ahead, now's your time. to
I
ask.
don't have any right now. No, he's going to look into removing, now, you're talking about breaking that concrete up and pulling it out of there?
Well, it's not a slab of concrete, it's like pavers, but,
Oh, pavers? Oh, that's easy.
2-foot square?
Yeah.
But there is some sort of like stone masonry wall around most of it, so if we're gonna take it out completely, we're probably gonna have to lower the grade a little bit and probably replace some of that with lawn or something like that. But,
Right.
It's a significant work, but I'll certainly speak to him about it.
And then, yeah, I mean, beyond that, I'd like the idea of the shrubs and the pollinator garden.
Okay?
But then, after you come back with your answer to that, we still have to work out the details of how we're gonna make this work to guarantee that, what we're asking for takes place. After, do we
Right.
wait 2 years to offer a certificate of compliance?
I would wait until the mitigation work is complete and we get a final as-built
But if
showing
the
that
house
everything is
If
done.
the house is sold, the
Then it
new
would
owner would
transfer
have
over to the
to,
new owners, so they would have to take care of that.
similar to what we had on Sherwood
Yeah, because if we
Ave.
issued a certificate of compliance now, we're saying that what is on site as exists is complete, and then you wouldn't have any
Recourse.
jurisdiction or-
Okay, well, I'm not
We're
ready,
not
I'm
gonna
not ready
issue
to
one
s-
today.
I'm not ready to say
We're not
that
gonna
until we have
do
the
that
answer on
today.
that patio, whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry, not the patio outside the house,
So
Yes.
one of the
Yes.
mechanisms that has been used, I don't know if it's been used in Danvers, but it's been used in other communities, has been to issue an enforcement order. The terms of the enforcement order would require the installation of the shrubs, the removal of the sport court, and the installation of the pollinator garden. And then
Well,
that-
do you want us to do that, issue an
Well,
enforcement?
I'm offering it as a potential suggestion, as a mechanism to get the work done. Then you've got actually an authorization to do these work items. And you essentially, with this enforcement order, sort of guarantee, I think, performance. And then when the enforcement order is completed, then you could issue the complete certificate of compliance on the original order.
On the enforcement order, do we have to find them in
I
violation?
was gonna, I was gonna say, could
Would we have to find them in violation of something for
I mean,
enforcement?
if you want to issue an enforcement order, then yes, it would be finding them in violation of
Yeah,
what's there. So.
what-
I'm not sure what
We were
supposed
trying to
be
work
gained
it
by
out friendly like.
Well, I'm
A
thinking like.
friendly enforcement order.
Sorry,
Whether-
just for a second, hold on a second. Emily, could you investigate that?
Yes.
Just what the the mechanism, the
I
method
think
to
we'd
do
have to
that?
send a notice of violation.
And then, whose benefit does it work towards? If anybody's, or both of us?
Nobody's.
Right.
I
And
just
my-
wanted, oh, go ahead.
My gut feel is that the method that we're using right now is the way that I would want to proceed.
Okay.
Yeah, and with an enforcement order, they didn't do what was required ahead of time before.
Mhm.
So are they going to follow an enforcement order? And I don't know enough about that, whether that's going to, be required before they sell the property. Our goal objectively is to clean the slate and make sure the things that were done without our approval is altered and mitigated enough so that it balances back.
I would think if we were to make that an order of condition and then they didn't do it, that would be the time for an enforcement order.
Right.
So, part of what is giving me a little bit of pause is we don't have a valid order of conditions at this point in time. So we could do work under the enforcement order. We could do, the installation of the beds and removal of those. We could do construction work essentially with that as the authorization. And that would avoid having to process a separate order of conditions or a separate RDA to authorize that work. So that's one advantage. In regards to, is Mr. Doherty going to really do this work or not, we're here voluntarily. We're not, we've brought this to your attention. We've, I think, been an open book, and we have every expectation to cooperate with you completely and get the work done in a manner that you find satisfactory.
Okay, but I think for now,
We're going to continue.
tonight, we're just going to.
I got to go back and do some talking.
And then,
Right.
Emily can go back and see, what the rules are around the enforcement order.
Absolutely.
And then you guys can decide which way you want to proceed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think an enforcement order is typically our last resort.
Okay.
Because then you can get
Believe me,
past
I'm
it.
not trying to make it difficult for you. I want to make it as easy as possible.
I do want to thank you for the garden and the shrub area, and it would be really wonderful if we could get rid of that big concrete slab.
Okay. We'll try to do that.
Okay, so before we vote to continue, is there any public comment, questions? None? Okay, so if someone can make a motion in a 2-week timeframe, so we
Yep,
have
up to
them back
September
here again
25th.
on the 25th?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's go with you, Bob?
So we're on for the next meeting, which is when?
September
25th?
25th?
September what?
25th.
25th, thank you, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'll make a
My brain is-
motion that
I'm maxed out.
we continue the 46 Riverside Street.
Nope,
No,
sorry, this
actually,
is
Mark-
35
Mark-
Doty Ave.
35 Doty.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. I make a motion that we continue 35 Doty Ave, DEP file number 14-0883, to our next hearing, which is September 25th? September 25th.
I second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
I'm here for the next
Bob,
item
and you're
too. so-
representing on the next as well?
Right, so,
All right, so just,
Well, that's a difference.
so notice of intent for 46 Riverside Street, DEP file number 14-1440. The applicants are Adam Wood and Genevieve Fiorente.
okay. Right.
I remember your faces.
I
on the
know,
site
me
visit.
too.
And if, Emily, if you could bring up the new plan, please. Oh, good. So at our, the last time we were together, we asked for some additional time because we were considering some design changes to the pier, and there was some new information that came in. And during that process, we were provided a copy of the
2025 dredge report on the river, which was prepared by Foth Infrastructure earlier this year. And that sort of gave us some additional information that as we've incorporated into the design plans as well. So one of the comments that had come up was a concern about the number of piles and the pile spacing. We'll see it a little bit better on the next sheet, but what I want to point out is, so we've got a pair of piles here, another pair of piles, another pair of piles, another pair of piles. So they're about 45 feet apart. With the original design, they were about 20 feet apart. And the only way you can make 40-foot pile spacing work is if the span from, pair of piles to pair of piles is a truss, so essentially almost like you'd see on a bridge. And that truss ends up having enough bending resistance so that you can safely, walk across this and carry loads across that distance, and it won't sag and break or anything like that. So the truss systems are significantly more expensive than the wooden systems. So while we cut down the number of piles approximately in 1/2 with this approach, the costs of the aluminum truss systems are significantly more expensive. So there is definitely a cost increase as a result of doing this, but we felt it was important to address the comments about the number of piles, and hopefully it ends up with I think, a better project. We still have a 40-foot wide gangway extending from the pier down to the floats, and we have 2 float sections that add up to 200 square feet, the typical 6 by 13 and 6 by 20, so those conform to the Danvers standards. You can also see on this plan that we've added some mapping of the channel. And so the blue lines here are the existing channel, 100 feet wide. And this is down at elevation, I think, 13 or 14. So this doesn't need to be dredged today. The dredging report that came out suggested that there was some consideration of a future dredging project that would widen this channel from 100 feet wide to 150 feet wide, with all of the widening occurring on the west side of the channel, at least in this area. So that would bring us 50 feet closer to the proposed pier, gangway, and float here. But we looked at the elevations of the bottom and for the side slopes, and it turns out that none of these piles would be in the way of that future dredging project. So you can see the floats are about 10 to 11 feet clear of the expanded channel. So that really leaves room to park a boat there. But also the depth of the side slopes would not interfere with any of these piles that are here. So there's really no need to worry about relocation of piles in order to accommodate a future dredging project. Nevertheless, the applicants have said previously that they would, if necessary, move their float, and I think you could just put it on the side of the pier or something like this. You could slide it further away from the channel if necessary to accommodate a future dredging project. So if for some reason, the town came in with a 60-foot or a 70-foot wide dredging project that would impact the layout, then in fact they're promising that they would, they love the river, they want the river to work, and so they will cooperate with that type of an effort in the future if necessary. I do want to go to the next page if we can, for just a moment, please. So here you can see how the number of piles supporting the pier has been reduced. These, again, are about 45-foot spacing in between piers. I've got a pair of piles at the end to provide better lateral resistance, so that if this thing was ever whacked by ice in the winter, or a float came loose in a storm and whacked some of these piers, you at least have some better lateral resistance than if you didn't have that pair at the end. So that's the purpose of that. We still have some diagonals coming down from the piles to the aluminum truss sections. Again, that also provides lateral resistance. So it's pretty much the same size as was originally filed, but I think it's better materials and better design. We've got 7 feet clear at the shoreline, so we've got more than enough to satisfy the Chapter 91 requirements. They require 5 feet of clearance on along the shoreline, and we've got very wide distances in between the piles, so that it can easily accommodate any paddle boarders or kayakers or the small watercraft if they want to be outside the channel. And lastly, I think keeping the float in the position that we've indicated there helps protect against bottom scour, either from prop dredging or boats landing on the mud. It becomes a safer pier, I think, for the use by the family. We don't have to worry about getting stuck and not being able to get back to your pier during a low tide. So by providing a full tidal cycle access to the water body, it really becomes a safer and I think a better pier. So with that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
Okay, Bob, what is the length?
It's 180 feet of fixed pier. So from here to there is 180. We have a 40-foot gangway and those floats that I mentioned, 6 by 13 and 6 by 20.
So that is what, 253 feet?
I think less than that. Well, so 180 plus 40 would be 220, another 20 here, 240, and this is probably, you probably lose 5 feet here, or maybe more. So about 230, I'd say.
33 feet of floats?
230 from beginning to end, roughly.
So what is it?
I would say 230 feet roughly from beginning to end.
Okay, and that's off of that little peninsula that you want to improve as well, right? What I'm
That's
driving
correct.
at-
We have a seawall improvement at the shoreline.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm driving at, we've permitted another pier next door to you, pier and floats. I don't want this project to go out into the water farther than that one.
So I think at the first,
Because of the,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bob, because of the harbor master's comments where
Yeah.
he's just.
Yeah, which he
he's just afraid
reiterated
of,
again.
private property owners encroaching on the public waterway. So I know we permitted one pier and float system down there next door, and I really do not want to go out beyond that. So, I mean, I asked Emily to kind of get us a drawing today, but she couldn't make it work, so, but,
I have a drawing. And I think we gave
all
it,
three?
yeah, I do. And we gave it to you at the first meeting, is my understanding. I wasn't at the first meeting, I was on vacation. But this was the figure. It shows, here's 40 Riverside, and here's 46.
where's 48? See, 48's not on.
And what are you trying to point out, that you're no longer?
Well, yeah, this is comparable. We're not,
Yeah, but
not encroaching.
40 was
But
40
you've
was
read
not,
the
40 was
comments
not.
from the harbor master?
I'm sorry?
You've read the comments
Yes, I
from,
have.
and and he reiterated those comments yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, he clearly has a concern about the number of piers on the river. And I think that,
Everybody's trying to reach so-called permanent water.
right.
There's no right to that. Your clients don't have an absolute right to that.
I'm not sure I would agree with that. I think we all have the right to access the water. I think the Chapter 91 regulations restrict or basically permit access to the water body. And he actually encourages people to access the water body. So I think that's where the access to the water is regulated.
I don't agree.
I said, Bob, so on this picture, give me an estimate, if you could, please, of where 48's.
So 40, I don't have the information on number 48. I have the
Well,
information
yeah, I
on
have
number
numbers here. They're
46.
saying 194, 34, and 20. So that's 244.
And we're 232, so that's.
No, but you're much more than that because you're adding this.
Again, I really don't.
But my point is, Bob, I do not want to, I'm not going to approve something that goes beyond what we've already approved for these guys.
So I don't have that information, and I guess I'm happy to get it and address that comment.
One sec.
248? This is where 48 Riverside is. I don't have that.
I can pull that up. Do you want me to pull up the 48 Riverside plan? Would that help?
Good.
Yeah.
Trying to figure this out.
I think from the numbers you gave me today, Emily,
Okay.
I added that up to be 244. And these, and this proposal is for 253
This is
plus the length of that.
This is the 48 Riverside Street, their final approved plan. That's up there.
That's not the comparable one. Yeah, on the other side, Darrow Harper's. This is the one right next to us, the Rosenbergs.
Right, this is,
This isn't the comparable one.
Okay, do you want me to pull up, I also have 40 Riverside. Did you want me to pull up that one? Okay,
Yeah, that
okay,
would be the
all right.
the 40 was, that's the one I was showing you.
40 goes.
This is 40
well out
Riverside.
beyond that. But we did not permit that.
Yep. 40 Riverside.
We gave them, and they said they were gonna go back with their original 91, chapter 91 license.
40 Riverside?
That Darrell Parker?
No, Darrell isn't 40. Darrell is 42. I believe.
That's 40, it's in the Chapter 91 process now?
And when did we permit that?
40 Riverside was permitted in 2024. And then Darrell at 42, he was permitted in 2018 to rebuild in kind with his existing Chapter
Right.
91.
So how do we,
What,
well, then I stand corrected, because I'm surprised that we allowed something to
Yeah.
go that far.
yeah. Can I ask a question? No?
Yes, go ahead.
Thanks. So, you said you were aware of the Harbor Master's original comments, and then his comments from yesterday whereby he reiterated that he was urging that the applicant consider making improvements to their original pier. Now, how long is that pier?
Okay, so that pier is here. And it doesn't provide full tidal access.
Yeah, but
And-
that's what we're getting.
Right.
When you say full tidal access, you mean
You can get in the boat anytime.
Water.
you want to get out to permanent water
Right.
all the time?
That's correct.
Yeah, but I don't think that serves the purpose of the waterway for the public.
Well,
And what if everybody does that?
right. And that's why you still have a very wide channel, and we don't have these things encroaching in the channel in the first place. I think that the issue, to me, is Chapter 91 regulates access to the waterways, right? And I think that's, what we're here for tonight is for the Wetlands Protection Act. And I think we meet all of the criteria in the Wetlands Protection Act to get an order of conditions issued. Now, the harbor master has said that he expects to write comments to DEP saying that, I don't know, there's too many piers in Danvers, or we don't like the length of the piers in Danvers. And he has every right to make those comments. But I think in my experience, I think DEP is going to permit it because I think they encourage safe access to the waterway.
But it's like, you're almost saying, no, you have to, what you're really saying is you have to improve this because everybody has a right to permanent water.
And it meets the regulations. Right? If it doesn't meet the regulations, I think we'd have an issue there, but this does. Okay.
Just
Hi.
identify yourself and
Yes.
your address, please.
Jenna Wood, 46 Riverside Street. I live there with my husband, Adam, and we had been in talks with Georgia for a long, long time when we started this project. And when we first started the project, first and foremost, we knew that we were trying to be really thoughtful about conservation, and we were told that having the dock closer and in the mud flats wasn't safe for the environment. So we decided to go with the deep water, and then we knew that Rachel and Rich next door had also applied for the deep water. And then the reason that we moved the location really was kind of me initially, because where it is now, when we bought the house, I was like a super big freak about safety and potentially having a family in the future and not partitioning the property and having an appropriate fence line. So I wanted the dock as farthest away from, my child playing that it could possibly be. So we thought that putting it on the seawall, we could have a fence, and then.
Oh God, you're full of shit.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you're online, please mute yourself.
Said that.
Sorry about that.
That was rude, and I'm not. It's truthful.
That was-
I'm a very honest person. So having that fence line across, and then having another area before we get to our dock, and then another gate before our dock, was really important to me. And I can have my mom come in and attest to this, because she is also a big safety freak as well. And our neighbor actually did his entire project up the street with his fence and his seawall, because he has a little toddler as well. So that was really the main priority for us, was the safety, and that's kind of how we shifted it from where it is to the outside of the seawall. And then we just figured that we would go out, so we would be respecting the conservation land, and that's kind of how we landed. And then when we got the 5-page letter that our neighbors hadn't received in 2024 about all of these concerns that the harbor master had, we were completely taken aback. So, we did have a nice Zoom call and try to have those conversations internally about what we could do better. And we didn't think that we should have to acquiesce if we're making such a big investment for a variety of different reasons. And, this is where we're at, and there's no bylaw. We're following all the appropriate rules and regulations of the river, and we respect the harbor master and everyone's opinions, but we also have the right to improve our property and do what we think is right. We didn't, buy in the river to, we wanted to improve it, and I grew up right on the other side of the river. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if my husband wants to say anything but thank you.
Good, well said. I am just hesitant to keep approving these long piers.
Not in favor.
I think we have to remember we have to stay within the guidelines, but I don't know if you guys
What
have.
guidelines, Mary?
So the guidelines that he had talked about, what they're allowed to do and what they're not, like we have our guidelines that we follow as well, and what we allow and not to allow, but at some point they do have the right to do certain
But
things, and we can't.
There are no guidelines for how long a pier can
Guidelines
be.
on the length.
Well, there are guidelines, and what, for example, Chapter 91 says that you can only permit a pier and gangway and float to the extent necessary to provide safe access to the water body, and that's what this does. And if you don't think you have the right to address the length of the pier in your regulations, then Chapter 91 does, and we obviously have to go through that Chapter 91 process. We have to go through the Corps of Engineers process. This is one step in several permits that are necessary to build this project.
How do you define safe access to the waterway? Paul?
So safe access means, these things aren't resting on the mud, for example.
So essentially, you're
it-
saying everybody can have a pier out to permanent water.
As long as it doesn't interfere
That's what you're
significantly
saying.
with other people's use of the river. And that's,
So
I think,
40,
what
Well,
50.
that's what the harbor master.
That's
said.
the concern.
right, but let's also take a look at the river here. We have wide openings underneath the pier, so we're not impeding lateral movement up and down the river by the pier construction. We have a very wide channel beyond the pier, so there's plenty of room for boat traffic there as well. So we really aren't significantly constraining use of the water body with
Can I
this
ask
design.
a question?
Sure.
Of course.
Did you read the comments from the Division of Marine Fisheries that was,
I have, yes.
yep.
Yeah.
And have you talked to anybody about that, or
Well, I
is
think
that
we
part
tried to.
of the process that you did here? Did you take those into consideration with what your plan is?
Right, so, and this is why, we have our float stops to prevent the float from bottoming out. This is why we have, good separation. This is why we have we're not blocking any salt marsh. I mean, we're doing everything by the small dock and pier guidance manual. So I think we're,
So what things are you going to do that match with that?
I'm sorry?
What are the things that you're going to do that match with their recommendations?
I guess I don't remember the recommendation
That's okay.
list. Why don't you,
There was fuel spills from construction equipment, so they wanted
So-
on-site adequate containment for that.
right, so the dredging, or not the
Yeah.
dredge, the pile driving contractor has that type of equipment on his barges and his boats, so that's how that is satisfied.
And then the barge restricted any activities 2 hours before and after high tide.
Right?
And then the impacts from the sound and turbidity from piling, excuse me.
Typically, the pile installer is using what they call the slow start method for driving the piles, so that they're not, just creating an unnecessary
That's all
disturbance.
part of the plan, right?
And frankly, all of these permit conditions get passed down to the installation contractor, so they're part of the contract between the applicant and the contractor.
Yep, I just want to double check that that's
Okay.
the case. Yeah, it's nothing against anybody or anything
Mm-hmm.
bad. And then the storage of the construction equipment and materials would be located on the upland side. And then the floats would be at least 30 inches above the substrate over the mapped shellfish habitat.
Right. And the entire river is shellfish habitat, so at least it's mapped as shellfish habitat. And that's why we have the legs on the float and things like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And frankly, I do want to point out as well that we did, make the extra effort. We tried to have a design review earlier this spring with the harbor master, and in fact, we did make some adjustments to the design prior to finalizing the plans and filing them with you. So we've probably had 3 rounds with the harbor master regarding this project.
How far out is the minimum to go to get to permanent water?
So this is where we're at. I mean, this -7 contour is where you need to be at, and that's where we're touching it. It's no longer than necessary.
To get to permanent water.
Exactly.
I'm not in favor.
Well, if you want to have a 12-hour float, then you bring it in. But it's safer to have it at the -7 contour. It has less disturbance to the river bottom. And
Safer in what regard?
so when these floats are half on mud and half floating, they become unstable. They don't necessarily, you put your foot down and it doesn't necessarily react the way you think it would. So it's a little more difficult and treacherous on those floats when they're partially floating. So that's my point there. It's also more dangerous because if you're out on the water and you're trying to get back to beat the tide, you might not make it. And then all of a sudden you find yourself moored on a mudflat somewhere or trying to, get to where you want to be. So it's definitely a more dangerous condition by not having access through the full tidal cycle.
And what's how do I ask this question? The alternative is putting a boat on a mooring.
To bring the boat where?
On a mooring it instead of docking it.
I suppose, yeah.
So that's an alternative to be considered, and most people probably don't want that.
Well, again, you've got to transfer all of your goods from, the shoreline to your dory out to the boat, then you transfer them again. If you've got small kids that you're transferring, it adds a whole complication and level of risk to that operation. It's definitely not as user-friendly, not as safe.
Peter Clement might disagree with that.
Well, something for you to decide here, Bob. I don't think you're going to have the votes to get this approved tonight.
Yeah, sure.
But we do not have a full board here. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to have a new member, plus Lorraine will be back. So
Sure.
that's a consideration. We would continue if you want.
Well, we're not trying to, force this down anybody's throat, and we obviously want to achieve success.
Oh, yeah. And Jenna Wood, 46 Riverside Street. I just want to point out, too, is that not just our neighbor at 40 Riverside, but another neighbor around the way also has a deep water dock. And I just find it,
What was the address in that? The second one?
I don't know. Yeah, 55 Mead. So I find it, I understand that maybe there's a change coming and perhaps that's not wanted, but it's not fair to permit a dock last year and then we come here a year later thinking that it's going to be fine. And speaking with numerous town staff, and the harbor master's known about this since May, and then in July we get a letter that's like 5 pages long and we're like, what's going on here? It's a little bit, it's favoritism and it's a little bit discriminatory based on one opinion of the harbor master. And while it's very, we respect it and we want to be a good neighbor to everyone, it just wasn't, we just asked that we're afforded the same opportunities as other people are getting. And we made a large investment in this property, and that's all I have to say.
I would point out that we've tried to accommodate design changes wherever possible to to address your comments. And I still think that the project as designed meets all of the performance standards of the Wetland Protection Act. I think if we ended up going to, for a superseding order, at the end of the day, we would get it. But, I realize that that's, a process we would rather not go through. I'm sure it's a process you would rather not go through. We'd rather try to figure out a way to make this successful. And to that end, if you think that we should wait a couple of weeks and come back and meet with you again, we're happy to do that.
I think we should continue it so both sides
I was
can
asking if he was agreeable.
to think about what else you might do to convince us besides.
But I think there's two other people, but there's
You
two other
can't talk
people.
from there.
Oh, sorry. What is it?
I
No,
was
go ahead.
telling her that she can't talk from there.
There's two other people that aren't here.
Just,
So,
just a quick reminder on that,
Yeah.
a new member that we were going to have is no longer able to join. So it's just one
Okay.
person who's not able to be here tonight.
okay,
I got a
so
notification
there's
while we were
one
here
other
tonight.
person, so
Just
that,
wanted to make that clear.
all right, thank you.
Is somebody here in the public is
No,
somebody
go ahead,
here?
Mike. Was there something you wanted to say?
No, I said, is somebody here that
No,
wants to
Actually,
speak?
we have someone in the audience who would
Oh,
like to. So go
okay.
ahead.
I thought I heard someone make an offhand, really.
Yes,
rude
that
comment.
person is no longer in the
We'll ask for
meeting.
public comment. so
Yeah,
that-
that person is no longer
Oh, good.
online.
Chris Farrell, 10 Riverside. Chris Farrell, 10 Riverside. I thought I'd only be standing up here once tonight, but I'm here again. So I understand this is kind of a charged topic, and I understand, our neighborhood is a very unique neighborhood. There's a lot of older houses, and there's a lot of new families coming into these houses, and they're inheriting things that were done before them, right? Myself included, and I was able to make an improvement for the betterment of the property, of the family, and of the wetlands, and I appreciate that. And I think that we've kind of seen, I don't want to say a change in the tides because it's too kitschy, but I think as families come in and they want to move to this area and they want to be on the water, understandably so, and they pay a premium to be on the water, and I think having access to the water is it's a right. I don't like to throw away everyone's rights. Everybody has a right, but you live on the water so you can access the water. I'm an avid boater myself. I don't have a boat on my property, but in Gloucester I do. And when I go on the boat with my son or my nephews, rushing back to catch the tide, as far as whether to go deep water or not, rushing back to catch the tide elevates everybody's sense of urgency, and it does become a very dangerous situation, right? So you're going a little bit faster than you're supposed to. You're making a little bit bigger wake than you should, which obviously impacts the shoreline and other boats and other people's properties. So you can get back to your property because you're just dreading, all right, where am I going to moor? Am I going to moor out in this deep water area? Am I going to be able to find a spot over in the Danvers Port Yacht Club, etc.? You're motoring back, you're not thinking clearly, and that's when boating accidents happen. So just an aside to speak on that point. I understand, Jenna's point as far as keeping clear line of sight from the rear of their house, looking straight down to see the dock, to know if, a child is going to try to breach the gate because they have little fiddly fingers and they like to get into things that they shouldn't. But on the other hand, I understand that, it's an uncomfortable standpoint, for the commission to see, the growth of these piers. And, it seems like who's going to build the tallest skyscraper. But to that point, I would, I'm sorry, your name is again? Bob? To Bob's point, I would also say, all right, well, then we look back and we follow what's allowed. What are the rules? What are the regulations? And if everything is, checked and ordered in the way that it should be, then it's the way it should be. And I'm not here to push anybody's, opinion on one way or the other, just kind of to mediate on the middle of the aisle. I understand, it's difficult to see piers kind of growing into the water, but people want to access the water. They want to keep their family safe. They want to protect the wetlands. And I can only speak. I don't know what their project is costing or going to cost. I know what mine was, and we'll leave it there. It's expensive. It wasn't cheap. But for doing the extra wide pilings, the increased distance of 40 feet in between the pilings, that stinks to have to do. But if you're doing that, you want to make it work. You want to make it work, so you can have your project approved, so you can enjoy the water and not be a nuisance to your neighbors. So I'm not sure what my main point was, but I think those are all valid points, and I just wanted to share them with the commission and with the attending town members. So, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Adam Wood, 46 Riverside, Jenna's husband. So I just want to speak to kind of our intent when we embarked this, and I really believe in doing the right thing, doing right by the river, doing right by the harbor master, doing right by conservation, and that was our intent. We had an existing Chapter 91, the existing floats that are located here. These are 20-foot by 6 feet floats. There's 3 of them. It's about 500 square feet of float that sits in the mud. As soon as we moved in, we took those out. We knew it was impacting the wetlands. We knew it was impacting the river. We've been sitting with the pier. We haven't utilized it, and we want to invest our money in the right spot and put it into a plan that is better for the river. And I think that is what we're trying to do here. Like, we're not trying to, do anything out of the ordinary. We're taking the regulations that conservation has put forth. There's no floats in the mud. We've focused on that in our design. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars in design fees to get it there. And, we're just trying to do the right thing. And it's very discerning to see comments that aren't, really resembling around that effort, and I think there's a lot of contradictory statements being made of the navigational channel, about the floats, sitting in the mud, and it's just very unfortunate that we're stuck in the middle of all of that, and we're just trying to do the right thing. We're trying to put the piers out in the water so they don't get impacted by the mud flats. We've respected the harbor master's comments with the navigational channel. We've respected the future expansion of the river with the 50-foot expansion. We're taking everything into account. We're being respectful of everyone's opinions. We want to do right. And we're not trying to do anything out of the ordinary. We're not trying to push this in anyone's, we're just trying to do the right thing. So to see disgruntled members of the board, and to see, the reactions tonight, it's very upsetting. It really is. We're investing our money to do the right thing for the river. And it's very upsetting. Thank you.
We have someone in the back.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'll let the gentleman speak first.
Oh, go ahead. Why don't you-
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I sit here and listen and I watch. I'm not sitting on the board. I don't know what you folks know. Just so you're clear, I'm just an observer. In some of the explanations I've heard tonight, there's a bit of ambiguity, not this is white and this is black. There's the area that you have to deal with in the middle. I'm concerned that if you have to set the restrictions yourself, or you have to abide by the restrictions that the state has set, if it's yes or it's no, it's not maybe or possibly. To me, that's the ambiguity. I think it's unfortunate that the harbor master isn't here to explain to you, other than a letter
No,
that says something.
the one I said wasn't the harbor master.
I'm just,
Yeah,
in
okay.
general, I'm not speaking about that one, I'm saying in general. It's too bad the harbor master, if he's involved in the decisions that you make, can't be here to not defend, but explain why he said what he said. I'm just disturbed or disappointed. As far as buying a piece of property on the water, there's two ways to look at it. not necessarily having a boat, but some people might just want to enjoy the view of the water. The board, you set your limits, I think you were saying on the other piers that were set in there. If you set a limit, and then the next person comes in and wants another limit, it's like when you open a door and you let someone get their foot in, that's it. Once you set a standard, hold to it, don't make those kind of exceptions. But that's what you're here for, is to make some exceptions. I'm disappointed, I don't have a lot of money, but I think the factor that some of these projects these folks are doing and others, I think that's the last thing that should be something that you should be deciding on. If someone wants something and they're willing to spend or have the money to spend $1 million, they spend $1 million. If they only have $20,000, that's their choice to ask you what they want for the $20,000. But for you to say, well, you can only afford $20,000, we'll let you go. You can afford $1 million, well, we'll let you go. There's limits. Now, I'm just sitting here listening, making the observations. Whether they pertain to what went on tonight, it's just observations I make, and that's why I'm up here just trying to
Thanks for
make
sharing
them.
those with us.
I'm concerned. Thank you.
All right, I just got 2 cents to add. It's just, my dilemma is, whenever I see one of these pier projects, I just get uptight. My question is, I mean, someone buys property on the waterfront to enjoy the water per se, but how far out into that water do they own?
Well,
And
to some extent-
And there's a further question.
Okay.
People claim that they own the property out there. Is the town taxing it?
I didn't think of
Yeah, I
that
mean,
one.
that's not, that goes against my last paragraph here, but
Is
if
that,
it's property that someone has rights to, they should be paying taxes on it.
but is that part of what we're doing tonight?
No, that's
What's
not,
that?
that's more a water right.
Yeah.
not
So-
a-
But that's an aside, but that's just, I'm just sharing my struggles with,
there are some disputes in the law over, how far into
Right.
the waterways these properties go. Some people have deeds that describe ownership down to mean low water. For practical purposes, Chapter 91 takes jurisdiction to the mean high water line. And so at this point, they're taking basically from the seawall out is in Chapter 91 jurisdiction. So,
so that's up to them to decide if that pier is
well,
long-
without
too
a
long or
Chapter
not.
91 license, this doesn't get built.
'Cause I know there was one on Chevalier Ave, and I'm not sure if Emily remembers this or not. It might have been during George's time. But we gave them the permit. But we just said, good luck with Chapter 91, and I know they haven't built anything. So,
But at the same time, I have experience permitting piers along the river, Beverly, Danvers, and, these things get approved by Chapter 91 at this elevation in similar situations. So I believe it's permittable from a Chapter 91 point of view.
okay, and that 40 Riverside,
Right.
we approved that last year, because I have no recollection of that.
Yes, yep, 2024. I can try to find the exact date.
And has it been built?
No, not yet.
I
we
think
have
they're
a
in the
site
Chapter
visit?
91 process. I think they're perhaps at the end of it, and they might
Yeah, we
be in
can
Was
do
the...
that on your picture?
Yes, it is. That's
Can we
the...
see that again,
yeah.
please?
I think they're in the forwarding process as well at this point in time, but that's them right there.
So that's just a simulation, And
Well,
this is-
that's the design that you approved.
and this is the one we're talking about tonight. And even still, that still seems to me like it's going out farther.
Well, you can see, this is very shallow water. There's the bottom with, debris on it. And then we move out here, you're into the deep channel.
Where's the existing on here?
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I asked this question before, but 48's approval, whereabouts would that go to?
So it looked, from the graphic you showed, it looked like it was comparable to the length of this thing, so it's about here.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. My gut feel is I want to have at least one more member here to, because I'm not sure, that- I'm on the fence, and I'm hearing Mike is saying, no, he's not supportive of it, and Mary, what do you think?
I'm not in line with Mike. I think, I don't know, the guidelines, like,
Well, that's the point. I mean, maybe staff has to look at it. There's no law that says we have to permit to meet to permanent water.
I mean, from this to Bob and the applicant's point, from the Wetlands Protection Act side and from the performance standard side, the performance standards are being met.
yes.
For this project. If you do want to continue it, I can see if the harbor master can attend the next meeting.
Yeah, that might be
If that
helpful.
might help. But from the performance standard side,
Yeah, but
those
I
have been
share
met.
his concerns.
Oh, right.
His present concerns and his concerns for the future of this river and for uses, not just for guys that can afford
But
$100,000 or whatever,
Can I
but for other people that want to enjoy the river.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If like at the next meeting, if we do want to continue, I can see if he can attend on the 25th, and then we can have that full discussion with you guys if you're willing to, and Bob. And
I think it's important for us to remember that by saying this now, they're feeling targeted and they're trying to do what's right and they're following the guidelines. So from where I stand, you can't have all these people do something and then when somebody else says, you know, we have a new home, we have this beautiful place, we want to do the same thing, we're going to do it the right way, we're going to take care of everything. It's, for me, you have to be able to see the bigger picture. Like, yes, it's horrible, there's all these things going out and there's more. There's already one there, right? You're just making it better. So, and the guidelines that were here, they're following those. They're taking care of the shellfish habitat and the fish passage and migration areas, So for me,
But they can do that without going out to permanent water. They can do everything you said without going out to
Yeah.
permanent water. You understand, right?
but the guidelines for whether they can and can't go out to permanent water, is that within our guidelines?
Well, that's maybe
That's my
something.
question.
Guidelines don't
We want
exist,
the harbor
right?
master here, staff.
So is he, like, when do you say they can't go out to a certain point? For me, it's an environmental perspective. So from an environmental law, from the guidelines we have here, from what was he saying about chapter 21, or 91, like, there's guidelines they have to follow that we have to follow, and from what I can see, they're following the guidelines. So, maybe finding out more information about that,
It's, no, I'm about how far out they go, not about, of course, we want them to do anything that's done here has to be done right. And, but I'm more about the concerns that the harbor master has.
I'm sorry, please just go to the microphone whenever you're talking. Sorry.
So
Thank
does
you.
he want to continue?
I didn't think I'd be here this long. You guys are killing me. I'm just kidding.
Surprised you stayed.
Well, now I don't have to put my son down because my wife's doing it, so I actually really enjoy being here. Wait, is this being recorded? Oh, geez.
I knew it was kids.
So I again, just an observer on this one. I know it seems a little bit close to home because it is, but there's rules and there's regulations, and then there's how we feel about rules and regulations. Like I'm playing both sides of the aisle. Like I understand, Michael, what you're saying. Then also, Mary, your points are valid. Everybody has good points, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, all right, what's right and wrong? What are the rules? What are the regulations? If somebody's playing by the rules and the regulations, then that's what they have to play to. And I hear some comments about there are no existing rules or regulations for the commission to kind of, or the town of Danvers to kind of meet Chapter 91, like what's permittable, what's too far, and where does it stop on behalf of the town, right? And maybe that's something that should be explored in the future. But as it stands today with this project, you know, from what I hear and observe, they have the Chapter 91, where they're abiding by the Chapter 91. They're following all the rules and the regulations. So, I mean, we can all feel how we feel about it, right? Everyone's entitled to that. Like, I hate it, I love it, whatever it is. But if it's allowed to be, it should be, is my opinion. But I'm not a professional. I'm not Bob. So I just wanted to share that point, that, you know, everybody can feel their way about certain topics, and that's valid. Your feelings are valid, 100%. But is it against the rules? Is it within the confines? Does it hurt the shellfish? Does it hurt the mud flats? Who's impacted? You know, I 100% agree. Kind of, you know, it can be perceived as like, oh, well, you can live on the water, so, you know, but everybody should enjoy it. 100% agree. There's 2 public accesses, one on, Riverside, one on Bates, so everybody can enjoy the water, and everyone does enjoy the water with their kayaks and with their paddle boards. Alan at the end of the street, he paddle boards, and he doesn't have, any issue navigating around, whether it's the marina to the right or people's docks to the left. So just somebody who's observed it in real time and lives there. I just wanted to share that with you, so hopefully I'm not blabbering too much. But if you have any questions for me,
Thanks.
happy to answer.
Emily?
Yes.
There was, a year or so ago, there was an issue with another vote, and there were only 3 members present. And because of there only being 3 members present, there was something about the validity of that vote that came up.
Yes, someone had missed too many meetings to be eligible to vote on that event, and we didn't have the Mullen form signed, so they were not actually an eligible voter, and we didn't figure
Does that apply here with us? Only have 3 members here tonight?
No, because you guys have been at all the meetings, and I think, Mike, you had to sign 1 Mullen form for this, and you did that a ways back. So if, for the next meeting, if Lorraine is here, we would send her the recording of this, she would watch it, sign that form, and then she would be an eligible voter on this.
Okay, so, a decision for you, do you want to wait till there's another board member present?
No, we would request a continuance, so we appreciate your consideration for that.
Okay, so everyone's agreeable with that? Why don't we just kick the can down the road and make a motion to continue?
Make a
And then
motion to
make sure we have
continue.
Lorraine here and seeing all of this.
Yes, and would you like the harbor master here too? I can.
That would
Yes,
be helpful.
please.
Mr. Sanborn, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion to continue the notice of intent for 46 Riverside Street, DEP file number 14-1449, to our next scheduled hearing of September 25th.
I second the motion?
It was 1440.
4-0.
For zero.
And the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, well, thank you all very much. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you, folks.
Okay, next up is a notice of intent for 36 Sherwood Ave, DEP file number 14-1443. The applicants are Daniel and Hillary Gordon, and the applicants have requested that we continue the hearing until our October 9th meeting,
Bob.
so they're skipping?
Yeah, they're coming before ZBA as well, and so they're finalizing their ZBA plans.
Okay, so to the 9th?
Yep,
of
October 9th.
October. Okay,
I make a motion to continue the hearing for 36 Sherwood Avenue, DEP number 14-1443 to October 9th, 2025.
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm used to saying, the chair saying, do we have a second?
Okay, so for old and new business, the only item on here is the minutes from our August 28th meeting, which was short and sweet, so it wasn't a long reading, so
No.
if someone can make a motion, we'll approve those.
Where is it? On my list.
We just need a
I'll
motion.
make a motion, we approve the minutes from August 28th, 2025.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other old and new business, Emily?
Yes, I got an email from our potential new member late this afternoon. He's actually not able to join at this time. He's got too many other commitments, so he's hoping he'll be back in touch in about a year. I know, we were,
Continue the search.
so we're gonna continue the search. I thought we were pretty much ready to
We
roll.
could have corralled Jean.
I know. Josh might get mad if I steal her from planning.
She's already on a board.
Yeah. I don't know if
So
Josh would
he's-
appreciate
he's-
that. So yeah, so he's off, and he said he'll be back in touch probably in about a year. So we're right back at it, getting word out. I spoke with Aaron this afternoon. I'm going to see Brian tomorrow morning, and we're going to continue just doing as much outreach as we can. And if anyone's watching that's interested,
All right, so.
please reach out to me.
Even, I just had a thought, you know Endicott Park?
Yep.
So that's such a place where people who love nature go. Maybe like posting something, or if they have a website that you could post, like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yep,
a
we can do like a news flash on the town website.
Yeah.
Mike is very involved with the dog park.
Yeah.
He just-
Yeah, actually, my wife, you know Valerie, because she's on the
Yeah.
garden club, they're designing a calendar, which should be ready by the end of the month. With everybody sent in pictures. We wanted 144. I think we got 300.
Oh my God.
Oh.
So
That's great.
crowding them in.
Oh, all the pictures? Let me
But
know,
if we
I'll
could-
buy one.
If we
Yeah,
could,
yeah.
if we
Seriously.
could post some kind of sign down there, I'm not
Yeah.
sure the legalities around that, but
I'll find out though.
Or
So-
even
Yeah.
digital, like digital, do you
Yeah, we
know?
can definitely put something on the website. I can
Yeah.
get that going, no problem.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm
'cause-
only concerned whether we can still discuss about the 46, but I'm talking generally. I have a general concern of, are our hands being tied here because we permitted one that length that we've now tied our hands? And I know
And I don't
that's
know
he
what the
was getting at.
guidelines are.
Yeah, and I can pull some more information on that and get that.
that's a
over to
valid
you.
argument, but I
Yeah.
don't think we are.
And I don't think so
we're bound by
either.
precedent.
Okay.
But I'm still amazed that we allowed.
But you'll look at that,
350.
Emily?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm not even sure we can propose, there's another question, can we propose a regulation in our bylaw that limits that?
Yeah. Yep, that's something that I
think
believe,
that's something that works.
yeah, I've been speaking behind the scenes with Chris Sanborn about that and with council too.
And how long would it take to implement something like that? Because once word gets out,
2 readings
you'll have to
and
get a
vote.
lot more applications.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's also what we're working out. It would be
Have you been
advertising.
talking about that? Because it's been a concern for a while.
Yeah, yeah, Chris and I have been talking about that.
Concerned every time there's an application.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long is it?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I didn't keep it. I mean, we've
Wait, before you
succeeded
go
in
even
keeping, getting the floats.
Oh, yeah.
We've
I'm
succeeded in
standing
getting
up.
the floats off of the
stretching.
bottom.
That's okay.
So that's good.
I
Yeah, I
also
mean,
like-
I
don't-
said that before, but I was struggling with that. You know, how long is the right length, or how long is too long?
Yeah.
I mean, Chris, every time he's
Well,
contributed
he's our
something.
harbor master, and he has concerns.
Right. Okay, so try and get him here.
Definitely.
Next
Yep,
one,
yeah,
please.
absolutely.
Okay, now, Mike, you ready to go, so if you make the motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good job, guys.
I'm not
Guys,
saying
yeah.
to make them huge, I just.